So what happens when a former professional mountain biker attempts a hard enduro moto race? We'll get to the race footage later, and you're free to navigate as you wish with the YouTube chapters below, but first, let's get into the story of how this all came to be.
Oh my God!
I'm a former professional mountain biker, and these days, I don't so much chase fast times on enduro or downhill race courses, and I certainly don't compete with the kids to flip and spin in any sort of competitions. Instead, I focus more on creating these here YouTube videos. Usually it's all just centered around enjoying the finest bikes available, mixed with a cheesy voiceover constantly asking you to subscribe. Speaking of that, you probably should. Back in February, I bought this closeout 2022 KTM 150 XCW for a decent deal. Once the initial warranty work was done, I was finally able to start riding it in early March, and the first ride was an absolute eye-opener.
The bike is way better than I expected. It was just crawling up things in second gear. Much less stall prone than my old 250 XC. I am definitely preferring this over that for this tight, nasty stuff, and it's so light.
The 150 XCW was a much better fit to me than any of my previous dirt bikes over the last 15 years. But the 150 is certainly not my first dirty bike. Now, many of you comment on my seemingly unusual mountain bike riding style. Thanks for that. I grew up racing and riding BMX, but I also loved riding dirt bikes, and whenever I could, I always jumped at the opportunity to go out and ride with friends. But I was never able to own my own dirt bike, so I had to ride my mountain bike pretending that I had a throttle. Eventually, just before graduating university, I worked 3 jobs to save enough pennies to buy a 2001 YZ125. That was early 2008. In early 2009, I entered my first Harescramble and would spend the next few years racing a few AMA District 36 scrambles and enduros all around Northern California. But my last District 36 race was back in 2015. Since then, I've done a couple of random motocross and enduro races here in Washington, and I even have videos of those buried here. But I sold my last real dirt bike in 2021. Since then, I've tried to use several very much non-dirt-worthy bikes to scratch that itch to roost. While the 150 was certainly a chunk of change, I validated it in my narrow mind because I would be able to thrash my expensive 890 a lot less. Crashing at 150cc speeds hurts a lot less than at 890cc speeds. Remembering how fun the Sprint Enduro format is, I entered a local Sprint Enduro down in McCleary, Washington. I was blown away at how fast and mellow the course was. There wasn't a single bit of technical trail. It was just lush, fast. I did have a good time, but realized that the challenge of simply going fast really wasn't what I was looking for. In and out of the forest, good variety of stuff, a couple little log overs, some nice turns. I didn't do anything super high performance, but I didn't blow it, so that was fun. I wanted to challenge my technical skills. And if regular enduro races weren't going to be overly tricky, well, time to look for something harder. I know I just waxed poetic about a 6-year career of racing around NorCal, but I'd actually never been to any of the Donner Harescrambles, let alone a hard enduro. So last night, I did something that I really hope I don't end up regretting. I signed up for the Donner Hard Enduro. With the bike as upgraded as I could get it, with motor mods from new reed valves to an ECU reflash and a high compression head, endless suspension tinkering, tire testing, and even a padded handlebar mount to prevent arm pump, I finally loaded up the van. My partner and I headed south for the 14.5-hour drive, but being somewhat preferential towards pedals, we brought a few mountain bikes and squeezed in many rides on this trip.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be a part of this. I'm gonna go sit in the van.
Too late. Just took 4.5 hours to do what should have been 2.5 hours because timing and all.
I had just seen my old friend Brian Butler back in July, and he said the Donner race is awesome.
Hi, Evelina.
Hi.
How's it going?
Brian is a former professional motorcycle racer competing at the national level enduro and cross-country races all around the country throughout the 2000s.
The drive continues.
Brian told me the Donner race would be the exact opposite of the race in Washington. This sounded promising. The real reason I decided to enter the hard enduro was just to see if I could finish. I've not really ever attempted an event, ever, that I was unsure if I could just finish. This seemed like a perfect opportunity to really test my mettle. I do ride mountain bikes 3 to 4 times a week, and if all goes well, I'll ride my dirt bike at least once a week. With the idea of riding technical terrain, I decided to ride as many rock slabs as I could as preparation for the event, and would frequently bring my KTM up to Canada with me to squeeze in tech rides whenever I could. After watching as many Rich Larson videos as I could fit into my schedule, I figured my own prep was coming along as well as it ever could. Today is July 31st, so I have about 6 weeks or so to get ready for this event. This race is supposed to be pretty gnarly, so I want to do all I can to get prepared for it. I'm going to think back to what I did with mountain biking when I started to take it first seriously about 20 years ago. I decided to just have more seat time and more practice with the fundamentals, more drills. I think with the 6 weeks I have between today and the event, I should do the exact same thing with the dirt bike. Now, I really don't want to be super obnoxious for all my neighbors and everything, so what I'm going to do is 15 minutes every day between today and the day I leave for the Enduro race. I'm going to ride my dirt bike just around the yard, not even really ride it, just try to track stand, work on pivot turns, little wheelies, work on going forwards and backwards slowly, and just get a better feel for how the controls work, how the balance works, and just become a more dialed, more correct rider. So let's get started. Here in the Pacific Northwest, it's quite a bit more humid than it might appear on camera. So on multiple hour rides, I start sweating a ton, and I notice that my mental clarity get a little fuzzy, don't always make the best decisions, jump some dumb stuff. So one thing I've done to combat those telltale signs of dehydration is I started using a real simple electrolyte supplement in my water bottle to help get me through those hotter, warmer times of the year. I've been lucky enough to partner with the folk over at LMNT who make a really simple supplement. It's just sodium, potassium, magnesium, tiny bit of stevia to make it yummier. And I found that with one of these in my water bottle, in conjunction with a full hydration pack, I can go for 3-4 hours or even more on the hottest days of the year. For a limited time now, LMNT's offering anyone who uses my link in the description down below, drinklmnt, lmnt.com/Jeff, Jeff, a free sample pack with any purchase from their website. This is the watermelon salt flavor, and it's quite tasty. I think you guys should give it a shot. Stay salty, friends. Got 2 bike locks on the moto, and then we're gonna pop out for a quick little mountain bike ride. The one way we're gonna go is the one way that does not say area closed.
This would be a good kid trail.
These trails in Central Oregon were fast and flowy without much elevation loss, also without much technicality. They made a very nice break for the drive, but I wouldn't call them a destination riding spot.
This might almost be too easy for my child. How's it going?
Well, I'm Jeff. What's your name?
I'm Craig.
Craig, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
It felt great to get out of the van and get a little bit of exercise in for the day, and we even came upon a young juvenile bear, the fluffiest fur I've ever seen on any kind of a bear. Fortunately, I don't have a shot of that little guy.
There we go, it's kind of fun. Went mountain biking. The trails are pretty chill, pretty easy. And then, yeah, driving down towards Gray Eagle and eventually Donner. But we'll camp out tonight, middle of nowhere, maybe somewhere near Susanville. In a hill somewhere, maybe near a creek, I don't know. Yeah, it's not that cold once you're used to it.
The top layer of water is really warm.
Coming in over there, it's quite warm.
Yeah.
That is a campsite. A couple months ago, I met up with an old friend, Brian Butler, again from the mountain bike world, but he's also a former professional dirt bike racer. And he mentioned when we saw him down in this neck of the woods down here for a wedding with my daughter.
Showed up at the same time, Jeff. Randy.
He mentioned that if I came down to race, he would help. And so I took full advantage of that.
Brian's not going to be on YouTube here, but I just went ahead and drilled out the Nitro Moose because this is not the plush one because those are sold out because they're too good. So we did the next best. Hopefully this does the trick.
Once motorcycle prep was all buttoned up, we did what we really should be doing and headed out on the bicycles for a quick little pedal. Before heading down to Donner, Brian and I hit a quick shakedown ride at a local OHV network.
Hey, that guy looks like he knows what he's doing.
Which guy?
The one in black.
Oh, sweet. It's taken me the last 2 years to figure out I keep my feet real tight.
I notice you ride with your feet way more than I do.
I used to always squeeze with my knees because you would read stuff like from the motocross guy, squeeze with your knees, squeeze with your knees. But if you're noticing my feet, you might notice that the bike bounces back and forth between my legs, kind of like a dropper post might.
Oh!
And what that does is if you're very stiff and rigid from foot to knee, but if your bike gets knocked off course and you're fully connected like that, you might go in that direction.
Yeah.
Whereas if your feet are locked in, but your knees are a little loose, ready to catch it.
Interesting.
Your bike can move underneath of you.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on toes on the pegs. And then I used to do more of a squat, and now I'm trying to learn to hip hinge.
So you got your butt out and you're further back.
And my knees are not over my toes as much.
Your knees are further back?
My knees are further back.
I see you back here a bunch, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Looks like Rich Larson.
That's my hinged position. Perfect, left, right, left.
Thank you for the foot guidance. That's way better than the chunky bowling balls that don't move.
Is it helping a little bit?
Yeah, letting the bike, knowing that it can dance a little for safety.
And
is
I
better.
just figured with your broken toe, if you accidentally hit something, it moves your foot backwards instead of under on the peg.
Sure.
I noticed when I was riding with Brian Butler yesterday that I didn't get any arm pump. My forearms tend to swell up a ton on the motorcycle because I do too much. You guys watch the mountain bike videos, there's wheelies, there's jumps, there's leaned over in the corners, there's pumping. I do a lot of that with my upper body, which is not the most correct way to do it. Your feet should do more. On a motorcycle, if you bring that bad habit from cycling over to the throttle, it penalizes you big time. And I get arm pump terribly, but I noticed yesterday I didn't get much arm pump, and I realized a couple times recently, I've gone and filmed mountain bikes all day and then ridden the dirt bike that evening. No arm pump. Wait a second. The solution to arm pump is to get your blood flow going pretty good and then go motorcycling. Works a charm. So today, we woke up here at the race site in the camper van and went out for a cross-country mountain bike ride, because that's what you do. And I might have made some wrong turns because I've never ridden these trails, and might have decided we should, let's try this trail. This looks great. And we should not have tried that trail.
We just got done with the bike ride like a few minutes ago. The last 10 minutes I've been frantically getting my clothes on. I gotta go. My start time's in like 1 minute.
The way the start works, dead engine, your motors are off. Guy with a big old beard and a cowboy hat, it's a shotgun. He shoots the shotgun, that's your signal, go.
Go time in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. What was it again?
Jeff.
I'm not even ready yet, and he shoots the gun. Oh, I better go. Take off, and it is just absolute chaos. It's dead silence and total chaos, just like that. It's really unique. Mountain biking has nothing that chaotic, that quickly. Immediately in lap one, the dust, like 30 seconds out of the start. I can't even see my front tire, it's so dusty. And we're going 30 miles an hour. It's just like, oh gosh, hopefully there's no boulders. Right away, the race is just chaos, and you want to make all your passes early in the race and get as far ahead as you can, because it's much easier to hold a position than it is to claw forwards positions. Mountain bikers tend to have pretty good fitness, and we're used to manipulating the bike. A lot of motorcyclists, they have good fitness. Motorcycling is very hard, and it's a different fitness thing, but I know my strength is that later in the race, I'll be able to keep going pretty decent. But you've got to make your passes early, and so right away, I was looking to get around people, and generally you're not stuck to just the single track like you are in a mountain bike race. You can go within 10 or 15 feet of the markers. So I'll show some of that GoPro footage of passing people. It's really fun. This race is called a Harescramble, and that it's a cross-country race, and you've got a challenging course, but not overly difficult. And you're trying to do as many laps as you can within a 2.5 hour time period. The goal here is to finish as good as you can, because that'll then position your start for the harder race the following day. Because it's so hard to make passes in that hard race, it's critical to do well in this prologue. I actually took several classes from the race organizer about a decade ago, and one thing he told me that's always stuck in my mind ever since is never follow someone, especially when racing. Always try different lines. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's why I tried this bizarre outside line, and maybe it actually worked. I don't know. And yes, I got passed a lot today. I got lapped even. That's how it goes. First lap went great. It was fun. And the dust and it got some rain last night, so there's actually nice dirt in some sections. It's cool. The advice of using the ankles to pinch the motorcycle rather than the knees was absolutely critical. Brian also explained that it's crucial to always have at least one foot on a foot peg and always be standing. This would in turn create much more traction than sitting down and paddling. While I've generally intuited this from riding, hearing it verbalized really made it crystal clear. Thank you, Brian. This advice really saved me at the hard enduro. Now, after not missing the start of the Harescramble, I had so much fun. To finally have a bike to race that I was really gelling well with was an unbelievable feeling. And having some brief Harescramble experience was also very helpful. The course was super amazing. I would absolutely go ride this for fun with no racing required. I was having so much fun that I actually got myself into a little bit of trouble. Motosore is an experience all in itself, and this was in the top 3 of most motosore I'd ever been the day after a race. Slowly and wobbly, I was able to walk nearly to the 3rd checkpoint of the hard enduro course and spotted a few sneaky lines in the rocks. This would prove to be quite helpful for the upcoming race. Here we're at the beginning of lap number 2, and I'm trying to still make as many passes as I can. I didn't know it at the time, but a bunch of the same terrain was going to be on the following day's hard enduro, so this was actually very valuable practice. For me, riding these granite slabs is not overly challenging. Sure, it's not easy, but the traction is quite predictable, and even though they look steep, they're never really crazy steep. So even though I've got the small bore bike, getting up the stuff in a low gear ratio, it's not too bad. Here's a top pro blowing my doors off as he passes me, and then back to the single track. Man, with that rain that came down, the dirt was so good. I was having a ton of fun in this race. I would seriously love to just go back and pound out laps on that track. Lap 3 went great, went smooth, still passing folks. Pros started to lap me on my lap 3. And as I came back around, and I see that the little countdown clock is at 29 seconds to the end of the race. So if you pass that while the clock's still active, you're still on course.
Yeah, one more.
Went out for that 4th lap, just played it really easy, really chill. It was raining, so some of the rocks are very slippery. Made it down, found out that I finished 5th overall in my B class category.
Quick update, I came across the finish line 29 seconds before the cutoff. So I took my time getting some lunch. Katie had a delicious burger waiting for me. Drank like 3 waters, 1 element. Now I'm gonna head back out for my 4th and final lap, which means I don't DNF, I don't get lapped on the lead lap. And I'm gonna take it very easy and slow, so I won't film much this last lap, and I'll catch up with you guys at the finish line.
Good job today, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Killer, dude.
Appreciate it. This hill climb's pretty gnarly, check this out.
So I was actually wrong about this. Preliminary results had me listed in 5th place with my 4th lap very much counting. Then, something weird happened after dinner time, and after I recorded that video, and things definitely changed. Maybe there was a time adjustment, because I started on row 9 the first day. Anyhow, it turned out that my last lap, my 4th lap, didn't end up counting in the end, and it had just been a needless expenditure of energy. Considering how sore I woke up on Sunday morning, I can see why folks were waiting and not crossing the finish line while on their 3rd lap.
Thank you, the boot. I'll give that to my daughter at home.
And then at the venue, they'd booked a band, the Nomads, and that was a hoot. So right now we're trying to go to bed on time, 8:58. Gonna make this happen. And tomorrow morning's the big day, the hard enduro. I am nervous and I'm excited, I'm afraid, all at once. It's gonna be good. All right, guys, catch up tomorrow after the hard enduro. Despite the early bedtime, I woke up absolutely exhausted and ruined. The day before had really taken its toll on me. To wake up a little bit, we went and walked some of the stages for the hard enduro.
This is the famous Spectator Hill slab. I don't know if my bike can make it up that. It might be able to, but I don't want to find out the wrong way that it can't get up it. It's falling from there to there, leave a mark.
Race organization wasn't the best. I didn't know even what row I was starting on. I tried so hard yesterday to get a good finish. Finally, at the last minute, figured that out. Got like a ho-hum position there.
Usually the kickstart is way faster than the button, but somehow I didn't manage to fire the bike with my kick and had to resort to my button, which isn't very fast. You can see me in just about dead last right off the line.
And it was just chaos and dust off the starting line. I felt like I started mid-pack or something. I don't know, I could barely stand up. I was so tired going into the race. You know, like the whole point of this, in my opinion, was all the cool rock slabs and the weird rock riding. And pretty quickly the course made it to that stuff, but it was just literally hundreds of people packed into the rock.
This probably looks like a total cluster, but this was actually a really cool thing here. So you can see there's multiple lines you can take, some harder, some easier. The harder ones, well, you don't know if you're gonna make it. You're also gonna burn a lot of very critical energy because this is a 3-hour-long event. My heart rate is totally through the roof through a lot of this, and I definitely took some time to patiently watch what happens when people try certain lines and to just let myself recover a little bit. Once again, that advice from Brian to always keep at least one foot on a peg standing instead of paddling gets me through so many of the competition. That was great advice. Thanks, Brian.
Like you're stuck waiting for a chance to pop in there. Meanwhile, there's faster people behind you that are figuring it out, and you just kind of got to push your way through. I found a few really bad lines where I got past, and I found a bunch of really cool hot lines where I passed people. I think I could have done way better on that section. That's like more like mountain biking where you pick your line and you do it. And I can relate to that slab style riding. It's pretty fun.
Ever since I got this motor reflash, I got a map switch on the handlebar so I could adjust between aggressive or mellow power. Well, sure enough, I made exactly the mistake I was worried I'd make. At some point, I bumped the switch and put it into the mellow power mapping for most of these rocks here. I need to remove that darn switch. On the plus side, I quickly realized I didn't have nearly the speeder power to make it up this slab, so I did an alternate line right past the easy line, getting past a few other racers in the process. The lowest altitude on this course is just over 7,000 feet. That's over 2,000 meters high. Yes, this is very high elevation riding. While yes, I'm not pedaling, this is pretty darn intense right here, and I'm heavily out of breath, frequently taking a break just to kind of recollect my bearings. In the morning while hiking the course, I noticed this inside line through a bush, and I was stoked to get a chance to take it in the race.
After the first checkpoint, you get up a creek bed and you go up this little creek bed, and then it got real tough on the creek bed where it's just like logs and boulders. You're trying to get over all that junk.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty close.
I launched mine into that hole right there.
Well, you're doing awesome. Keep it up.
All right, can we splatter up that? Nope.
And there's another slab section, which I have GoPro footage of. And that was the same, super fun, kind of making progress, having a good time.
In case it's not clear yet, a hard enduro is very much type 2 fun. At the time, I was suffering. I was in a lot of pain, I couldn't breathe, I just was sore head to toe, and this was hard. But you know what's cool? I look at this rock slab and I just think there's no way a motorcycle is gonna ride up that. But in the race, with that kind of adrenaline, yes, a motorcycle very much can ride up that. This section is a good example of what's common on these courses. There's a go around, which is this awkward angle thing with no traction and people are struggling up it, or you could ride right up this rock slab. Well, I thought I'd be a hero and go right for it. Sure enough, at the crest, I did not make it, and my motorcycle tumbled after me, looking to bite me in the tailpiece.
It's on the left. Well, Schitt's Creek wasn't as bad as I thought, but then Double A Hill, that was horrible. So it's a bunch of lava rock on a steep hillside, and all I did to get up it, at this point I'm super bonked, like sweated out all my electrolytes. I'm just totally a shell of Jeff. And came into it just wide open. And when I say wide open, I mean wide open. That bike, I've been sticking the throttle on the 150 several times today, and it sticks when I hold it wide open for longer than probably 5 seconds, and then it gets stuck in wide open. But going up Double A Hill, I made it up, which was an absolute struggle, but got up it. Cruising down the downhill, you have to like walk your bike down this lava rock, and I'm so small compared to the size of this motorcycle. I could barely walk it, and I tumbled and crashed down that hill a few times. It's on the left there.
What's that?
It's on the left.
307B.
Right before we got to the rock, like jagged tombstone section from yesterday, there was a couple log overs. Well, by a couple, I mean probably 24 log overs. And on one of them, I'm so tired. I can barely stand up. I can't see straight. And I go get sloppy on it and tip over, and my entire clutch rips off the handlebar. The entire, like the lever, I need a whole new clutch lever assembly, not the little lever, but the whole perch just annihilated itself. And so I'm sitting there, I can't even ride this motorcycle 10 feet without a clutch. Well, I'm done. Man, this is so frustrating. I'm not even sure I can make it back to the pits safely. But the only thing I know is that duct tape can fix many things. Then I realized I had two tools, Allen wrenches and duct tape. With those two, you can fix most anything. Start here and start away outboard. I can hear the carnage behind me. As far as it's gonna go. Duct tape the clutch lever back in place. And I'm just like so frustrated that it feels all funky, but glad I can keep going. Keep going, keep doing the things. And I'm like medium disappointed with my decision to come and race at this point. It was really, really, really hard. Whenever you get to a section where it could be two ways, it always was the hard way. Nice. And then there's this long creek, it's like next to the ski run where you go up, there's like this creek bed that you're going up. Not that dissimilar from a trail at home, ironically enough. And it's just creek bed, dirt, and I hate going up steep dirt. That's not my forte. Well, sure enough, I get stuck like 18 times. The top, I try to bulldog my bike, and then I let the clutch go, and it just helicopters its way onto the top of the hill. Bike made it. Then it bounces and shoots back down the hill like at 30 feet, and that's why my front fender is now wall art. I brought it with me. I didn't want to leave it in the nature.
Oh my God. Yeah, buddy.
And you're the local too.
Flopping all over the place in there.
So some other dudes that watched that all happen, they helped me push the second time out of there, which was exhausting. I helped them push too. So exhausting. Like, this is so much harder than a mountain bike ride or mountain bike race even. Full body workout. Used to be my fender.
This is a sick hill climb.
Yeah, it is. Maybe let's just drag it this way. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Should I try to?
That's a good, put your tire in the line there.
The clutch is real iffy because it's broken.
Hard to see on GoPro, but both those fellows are helping push my bike from behind, which is the only way I had a chance of getting up this thing.
Thank you guys so much. What's your name?
John.
Jeff.
Jeff.
Nice to meet you.
That's Chris.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Next time we'll do it like at a bar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at that point I'm like super bummed because it's hard to ride without a front fender, but for some reason today it wasn't as bad as normal. There's this like moon dust hill climb on the backside, absolutely wide open second gear, and throttle stuck multiple times, and I tipped over near the top. That was forever to get out of there. And then you go down and all the things, and then the absolute hardest part of the race, my GoPro died right as I got to it.
There goes Cody Webb.
You go up a ski run, and I went up it, got like 2/3 of the way up. There's like 5 guys stuck.
Oh my gosh.
Dropped back down, tried it a second time and made it almost to the top. And then another dude, Max from Ukraine, right at the top, helped me get out, and I helped Max get out. And we were riding back down, and we couldn't find the course markings, and then found them and made it out of there. And I did 1 lap, and I am 1 and done. Let's go home. Big thank you to LMNT. I drank a ton of these on this trip, And even as shattered as I am today, I would be so much worse if I didn't have LMNT in my back pocket. Thanks, LMNT. Thanks to all of you for watching. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm assuming you're all mountain bikers, with maybe like 20% of you do both. Let me know in the comments, are you a mountain biker? Are you a dirt bike guy? Do you ride both? If you're a mountain biker, are you just interested and curious about the dirt bike thing? Have you considered trying it? It's different, but there is some overlap there, which is fun. All right, thank you all for joining me. I love you all. I'll see you in the comments down below. Peace and safe wheelies, not on a cliffside. All right, let's go drive 14.5 hours. That was the most I stood up in a long time.